Okay, we can speak to Giorgio Cafiero. He's a CEO of Gulf Estate Analytics. He joins me now live from Washington. Giorgio, do you think what's happening right now is surprising?
Well, I think it's really clear that Trump is all over the map, and it's very characteristic of his style of leadership to be sending out so many contradictory messages and for him to be contradicting high-ranking officials in his administration. It's very difficult to know what his true intentions are. When it comes to the talk of the ceasefire, though, I can't help but admit that I am suspicious. I recall, and I'm sure everyone in Iran recalls, that the American-Iranian talks were about to enter their sixth round in Oman, but 2 days before those talks were set to take place, there was the Israeli war launched on Iran. The White House greenlit that war. And so when we talk about a ceasefire now, is this really a genuine ceasefire, or is this just sort of a pause for Israel to maybe regroup, rearm, and catch the Iranians off guard? I also have to wonder, what does a ceasefire with Israel really mean? We can ask people in Lebanon what it's like to enter a ceasefire with Israel. Of course, there was that ceasefire between Hezbollah and Israel that was signed in November. That hasn't stopped Israel from bombing Lebanon all the time. So I'd like to be optimistic about some more peace and stability returning to the region. But again, I'm very suspicious of all of this.
Right, and this is something that I discussed with our correspondent John Brain out of Washington as well, that this is the first time, perhaps the first time, we are seeing a sitting U.S. president talk about Israel in such a fashion. I mean, the U.S. president used the F word to describe what's going on when it comes to the violations of the ceasefire agreement, and he basically says that Israel is in violation. And then, most of the criticism was directed towards Israel in those remarks. And then, of course, he took it to social media and started to call on Israel to stop dropping the bombs. What do you think is going on here between Washington and Tel Aviv? Does it perhaps indicate there's some sort of friction between Netanyahu and Donald Trump right now? Or is it because Donald Trump really just wants everything to end for the time being so that he can go to the NATO summit, make a victory speech, and once he's back, he won't mind if the fighting resumes?
You ask what's going on. There's a one-word answer: theater. Donald Trump is a man who knows how to perform very well on television. He's very good with optics. We've known this about Donald Trump for a long time. But I'm going to say the same thing now that I said during the Biden presidency, whenever there would be these reports about Joe Biden supposedly being so angry at Netanyahu. Until the U.S. puts real pressure on Israel in terms of withholding military, economic aid, or changing the way the U.S. votes at the UN Security Council, until those policies and those actions change, this is just rhetoric and it's just theater.
But he has the power to change Israeli policy, right?
No doubt about that. He has the power. He has the leverage. The question is whether he would use that. For me, seeing is believing.
Giorgio Cafiero, thanks very much for joining me here on TRT World. As always, I really appreciate your taking out the time.
Good to be with you.